Everyone has the same ops problem, but they don't know it because they always explain it based on who they are. So a nonprofit might say something like, we can't really do it that way because we're a nonprofit and people don't like it when things change here. Well, that's something that's true everywhere, but they'll call it as a nonprofit. So it actually kind of puts blinders on that they can't look at the lessons learned in other organizations and use them for their own. And that's not just nonprofits. That's true of huge big tech companies. I've been in big tech companies and they'll say, well, we're a big tech company, so we can't really do anything unless we know that it's going to scale. You can't make something that scales until you make something that doesn't. It's not possible to invent a process that scales on day one. It's extremely rare that the case is that you'll know how to scale a process without actually having run the process, and it's actually quite dangerous to do so. I want to say this at the outset is if you are in an organization and you're the kind of person who goes, we could probably do this better. You might get in trouble because you keep talking about areas that are not your area, or you keep talking about projects that are not your project. You're probably an ops person. What I want to invite you to consider is, are you in an environment that is interested in empowering you? Because there are no ops changes without culture changes. Ops and culture are basically the same thing, and you can feel it by just asking yourself, or anyone else in the organization, how do you feel valued? Culture and ops are both about who and how we value people in our organization. In just the last 10 years, the ability to solve the set of business problems is very solvable, but in 10 years, the technology to solve those problems is quite literally 100x more powerful. But can we point to any company and say they're growing at 100x faster or they are 100x more efficient? Definitely not. So there's clearly a gap between what's possible with tools and the willingness of people to change the way they work. And this is the thing that no-coders are uniquely positioned to understand, because there are ops people in companies already. There are Salesforce admins, there are NetSuite admins, there are Marketo admins. There are ops people designing processes in companies today, but they aren't thinking about it in this way. They're just thinking about maximizing the value of the tool. But the tool isn't the problem. The tools are insanely powerful. The problem is permission. Novices who are coming in are very focused on the tool, the 20%. And that's good. Work your craft. It's a cool craft. I have a lot of fun with it. It's a good game. But that's not the problem. 80% of the issue is permission. If you only took one thing away from today's conversation, my dear no-coders, this is it. Your first most important and consistent move is creating permission. This is the discipline of change management. And all I'm telling you is what the first 90 days, how to win friends and influence people, and the discipline of change management says is if you approach people with an agenda, like proving how helpful you can be, people will feel it, they will resist it, and you will not get the opportunities that you could otherwise get. And let me tell you, we felt scared. I mean, these are clients, right? We're in with clients, and for the first 6 to 8 weeks, we're like, yeah, we're getting to know people. It doesn't necessarily feel very strategic, but it is. That's how you actually get to the place that you want to be in, which is as a trusted advisor who's able to support people in changing work. And once you move past changing work for just one person or just a team, once you move into changing work for cross-functional teams, you will transform the organization more than any VP. All of the really impactful things that companies don't know they could be doing live between teams. So you need friends in more than one team to take on that problem. Most of the time what we would want is that if we can show that we might be helpful to the business, that we would get permission from leaders to do that. But here's the secret. Those leaders don't have the permission to give us because they don't actually know how the company works or runs. They don't know how the company creates value. So they're not able to make that judgment call from their own mind. So I want to help everyone understand that most of the time when you enact with the VP and above leadership level, unless it's a founder, you are operating with someone who is making decisions through proxies, not firsthand knowledge. And you are someone coming from firsthand knowledge. And keep in mind that most leaders are put in that position because they did it before and they're doing it again. Well, what does that mean? It means literally their sense of safety comes from what they know, what they did. And when you come to them and you show them we could do things differently, you are a direct threat to their source of security and safety within the organization, unless they are emotionally intelligent, unless they have realized my value to the organization doesn't come from I've done this before, it comes from empowering others to do even better. The mistake that many people make is they go to leadership first and say, hey, I want permission to do ... And then the leaders are going to hand you a political process. Well, as long as so-and-so says it's okay, and like, how much value are we going to get out of this? Let's talk about that for a minute. So here's the problem. In ops work, you don't know the value you're going to create in advance. That's the whole point. The whole point is the process doesn't exist, so the benefit it can provide to the business is unknowable. And so what a lot of people do is they'll do something like, well, if we solve this problem, I can prove with data that we're going to save this much time and this much money. And by the time you've proven that, the amount of impact you can demonstrate relative to what's possible looks like this. So you've just orchestrated all of your negotiating power to the lowest amount of leverage you actually have, which is the knowable amount of savings that you can get. Ops work isn't about saving time and money. Ops work is about unlocking opportunity costs. Money is being left on the table every day because people who are really smart and really understand a craft are spending their time dealing with communication and coordination that is unnecessary. Who is the most emotionally intelligent leader in your organization? A person will come to mind. Go to them and ask for their advice. Let them know why you want to be helpful. Tell them your intentions and say, what could I learn from you? I want to learn from you how to do this in a way that is right for our organization or feel good to people. And what you'll begin to create is a feedback loop with them on how they navigate the organization, even if they're working with other leaders who aren't particularly self-aware. It's about the people. Who can you go to that is interested in empowering others, that is curious about creating new possibilities within the organization and build a relationship with? And if you're thinking, I'm not in an organization with people like that, what are you doing there? You're not in the right habitat for you. Go somewhere where people are interested in what you have to offer. And that's part of what we're trying to do too. Promote this role. Teach companies it's important. Show them what's possible so that the context is there for more people to come in and do this work. Almost without exception, the leaders who are close to the work get interested in the possibilities of no-code tools immediately because they are familiar with the hands-on keyboard work. Companies have discretionary budget. They also have discretionary permission, meaning that there are things that they can agree to change. Like a VP can say, well, this is my area. I know nobody else is looking at this area. So, okay, sure, you can go change it. Directors are amazing sponsors because they already have the ability within themselves to execute their own judgment on your ideas. They can go, that sounds like a potentially useful thing to do. Remember, discretionary permission. So they have discretionary permission they can allocate, and they have the ability to allocate it. VPs, most of the time, do not have that unless you're in, organizations of 50 people or less. Most VPs, especially if they're polished, especially if they're very successful, are successful at proxies. What other companies are doing this process? Who else uses a tool like this? Can you show me the benefits that other people have had this way? Have you talked to so-and-so about this yet? What does so-and-so think? I'm not sure that this is something we're ready to do. We have a lot of other priorities right now, and I don't want you disrupting our priorities. All of those are proxies. So when you get proxy level feedback, meaning the person isn't responding to what you're saying or the idea, but they're giving you something else that feels like a distraction to you or feels political, believe them. They are political. And they are successful because they are political. But you will not be able to have an ops conversation with a political decision maker. They are a different breed entirely. So don't try win the political conversation. How? Everything I just told you before about how to make friends and influence people. Because once they hear, so-and-so helped this person, so-and-so helped this person, so-and-so helped this person, here's your moment. They will have some new strategic initiative or some new crisis, and you will be the person that they want on their team to figure it out. Here's what's different, right? Work can make sense, it can be friendly, it can be fun, and it can be about the things you love to do. Businesses are not systems with people in it. They are people generating systems. They're just unconscious most of the time. They're not making deliberate choices. They're pattern matching. So when you get into this role, you are literally teaching people that they can create the job of their dreams, the work environment of their dreams. Marketers woke up as a teenager and thought, if you say things in just the right way, people get excited about something. And if you say it wrong, they don't. And then their whole life is about that, right? Just like with us. I can build things that help people. I can be helpful building tools. And I love building tools. Awesome. I'm going to go do that, right? Salespeople, I can understand somebody's problems and help them realize something they didn't know about how they can think about the problem in a new way and unlock whole new possibilities with our tools. Like, there is an internal drive, there's an internal orientation to every person in every organization. And when you remove the cruft of all of these poorly designed processes, what you unlock is people's happiness.